Hey, what's going on, guys? Reed here, and I'm back with another tech video. So this tech video is going to be the shorter version of two videos I'm going to release. They're both on one topic. One's more advanced and a little bit more difficult, but it's easier and has less errors, and maybe more in some cases. And the other is easier but can have more errors. So this is going to be the easier operation for people who are like not really tech savvy or aren't real comfortable with like the terminal or editing drivers and whatnot. But we are going to be doing how to make a Hackintosh. So first of all, what is a Hackintosh? A Hackintosh is basically a computer that's like a Windows computer or it doesn't have Apple hardware, and it's hacked to run macOS. For this video, I'm going to be using this Lenovo G5070 right here. Now, with this method, it's going to be a little easier on your brain when it comes to finding like what kind of drivers you need and stuff. Most of these drivers will be compatible with all of these. But for this, you're going to need, you might also consider buying a custom built Hackintosh. That is a possibility. But some motherboards, like the one over there in that Lenovo, are automatically compatible with it. But with the custom Hackintosh, they'll give you like guarantees. So if you want to go do that or build your own, feel free. I will give you a guide to doing so. But for first things first, to get started, there's a few settings we need to change on the BIOS. I've already set them on here, but I'm going to show you how to get to the BIOS just for future reference. So for most computers, it'll be the escape key or F2. Escape key would be the startup menu where you can select BIOS. F2 would be to get directly to it. Sometimes it's also delete. It varies depending on the computer. For me, it's this little side button right here. So I'm going to go ahead and press that. It's going to load itself up. Oh, by the way, all Lenovo should be like this. And it's going to take you to this menu. You're going to select BIOS setup in this menu. You'll see this huge, big, scary list of items and menus. But for the first thing, you're going to want to, if your system supports VTD, virtualization, make sure that is disabled. If your system has CFG lock, disable that too. And a really important one is secure boot. Right now, I don't have this on. I've already got that set. But if you have that, you need to disable it. If you have XHCI handoff, go ahead and enable it. And yeah, and you can set your OS type to other OS in here. I leave mine there because I know how to change settings manually and stuff. Really doesn't matter too much. USB Legacy, you can enable it, but make sure that UEFI is also on. You need to make sure USB boot is enabled. This needs to say UEFI first and then legacy support, because there's different ways you can do this. You can do legacy or UEFI. Legacy supports older computers and some newer if you have it set a special way. UEFI is like this computer, it's newer and stuff, but the tools we'll be using will take care of that for us. PXE boot to LAN, I like to leave it disabled, but I think that should be it. You don't have to touch anything else in here. You're just going to exit saving changes. I'm going to discard because, of course, I don't have any changes. And we are going to put this thing aside for a bit. Shut it back down. Now, for this part, you're going to need a real Mac. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to my Mac camera, and I'll be back in just a minute. Okay, before I switch over to the Mac screen capture here, there's an important detail I need to tell you. With the Unibeast, the tool we're using to create the ESB, it will install a bootloader called Clover. Now, this isn't important because without it, you cannot boot it on our Hackintosh over there. So, to install Clover, the file system needs to be read-write. So, what will happen is that it won't work because of system integrity protection. So, to fix that, we need to shut down, first of all. I'll wait. Wait a few seconds. I usually do just to increase the chances of being able to do it. Press the power button. Then instantly you need to press Command R on the keyboard. Might take a little longer to turn on, guys, but you'll know when the slider doesn't move as fast. So it looks like in this instance, I was able to do it. You can release it once the Apple logo pops up. Just for good measure, I like to leave them held down just for a little while. But then this will turn on. And what we're going to do is we're going to enter one terminal command to disable system integrity protection. Now, an important thing to do is you're going to want to re-enable it once the time comes, like once you're done with it. Because it is a security measure that prevents your EFI partition, your boot partition, and all that stuff from being modified by programs. And you will have a higher chance of getting viruses and malware if you leave that disabled. So we're only going to disable it temporarily. Probably going to re-enable it after I'm done recording. But basically, to re-enable it, you're just going to type a command and replace disable with enable. It's that easy. Just going to wait for this to turn on. It looks like it's almost done. But what we're going to now with Command R is the recovery menu. You have to do this outside of macOS. Don't just open up a terminal in your Mac while you're in macOS and do it. It will not work. Usually you need to reboot. And this makes it way easy for us because you can't disable it while macOS is running. I wouldn't touch anything else in this recovery menu unless you know what you're doing. Okay. Looks like we're almost there. Okay, so here we are. We're in the recovery menu. Let this do its thing. It takes just a few seconds. Don't press any of this. This is not important. You're going to go up here, go to Utilities, click Terminal. Wait for this to pop up. You're going to type CSR util, UTIL, disable. That's all it is. This tiny command. I misspelled something. Hang on. CSR util disable. Just like that. Press enter. You'll get this little message here. Now what you need to do is just close it. You could quit terminal up in here if it doesn't bring you back. Go to here and just click reboot. And now I'm going to switch to the Mac camera just because we are just about finished with this for now. We're just going to switch to Mac, let that boot up, and then I can show you the rest of the steps. Okay guys, we are on the Mac now. There's my little recording software. First thing you're going to need to do is you need a 16 gigabyte USB, at least. That's for at least macOS 10.11 or greater. We will be doing macOS Catalina. Ignore all this stuff here. That's just because I had it as a Windows USB earlier. You're going to go to Applications, Utilities, Disk Utility. You'll notice it pops up right here with your USB. I chose a 64 gig just because, however, I don't think that's the full size of it. Yep. But I selected 64 gig because you can use it for more storage afterwards if you just erase it again. Follow these steps again. We're going to click on this. We're going to click Erase. Make sure this is set to macOS Extended, journaled. You can set this to be master boot record. You don't need to touch any of this. If you want, you can, but it will make it more secure and longer. Just click Erase. And you could give it a name if you wanted. I don't really pay attention to do stuff like that because I don't find a point. This may take some time, but from what I've seen, it usually takes less than a minute. But you'll notice all this stuff. If it errors out, feel free to comment on this video. I will gladly help you out with any errors in this. Alright. Make sure that you're formatting the external, by the way. Because if you're formatting this, it usually won't let you, but you would erase macOS. I wouldn't touch anything in Disk Utility unless you know what you're doing, because you're either going to erase the data from your hard drive or from a USB. Okay, we're all finished. So you'll wait till you see this message right here. You can go ahead and click done. Now you can close disk utility. I'll link these in the description, but you're gonna need Unibeast and MultiBeast. We're gonna start with Unibeast. This Clover little package right here you don't need. Now run just this. You can go ahead and follow this stuff. Yep, you can read all this if you want. This is just information about what's gonna happen. This is the bootloader credits for Clover, like I was talking about. License agreement, you can agree. Now you're gonna select your USB. Make sure that it's got the name and the space that you bought for your USB. Let's continue. Now here's another thing you need to do before we continue. You need to go into the App Store. You need to search macOS. Now you need to download macOS Catalina. You need to get or the macOS version that you're gonna get. You need to go ahead and do that. Wait for it to download. You can go ahead and close this too for now, just so it will pop up. But this might take some time, so I'll be back when it has finished. Okay guys, I am back. This thing is just finishing up here. It's about done. Now it's going to say installing. And if this works, and it's correct, then in just a minute it's going to open up a new window. This window. You're going to quit this window now. Just going to quit install macOS. Close this too. Now you can run Unibeast. So we're going to run Unibeast. Just continue, do. You're going to select your USB. You're going to select Catalina or your version of macOS that you want to have installed. Make sure only ones that are from the App Store will show up here. Press continue. Oh, I didn't click it. And then this is where it changes. You don't need to worry about this text. Now, if your computer's older, you could probably select Legacy, and it'll be more compatible with older computers, and some newer will still boot it. If your computer's newer, you definitely want to use UEFI. You'll know because when we were changing the BIOS settings back in this video, then if it ever said anything about UEFI, like booting UEFI or having legacy support, you can select UEFI. Then if you have ATI, an older ATI graphics card for a desktop, or an older NVIDIA, you can check one of these. I don't. You can verify. You'll press continue. You're going to go ahead and enter your password. It'll do its thing. And then this tends to take a while. This will take like 15 to 30 minutes and usually way longer than that. So I will be back once this is finished. Once again, you need to make sure you have disabled system integrity protection, or it will freeze at installing Clover. So yeah, I'll be right back. Okay guys, I am back. So you'll notice it's finished. You can quit that. And now you've got to drag something to your USB, MultiBeast. Just drag it to the main folder. If you need an admin name or password, go ahead and authenticate it. Usually you shouldn't. Wait for that to finish. Okay, now you can eject your USB. I'm just gonna wait for that to eject. We can unplug it. And then now we're gonna head to the Hackintosh. I am back, and we are going to start Hackintoshing. This is where it actually gets to be the hacked part. So here I have my little USB. I'm gonna plug it in, and we are going to simply turn it on. But you're gonna press the side button, or however you did earlier, to get to the boot menu. Just wait a bit. You're gonna go to boot menu instead of BIOS setup. You're gonna select USB hard disk drive. Should load up and work. Sometimes it takes a minute. you're going to arrive at a boot screen, by the way. Yep. So these entries won't usually be here. This is because I already have macOS on here. Just reinstalling it. From here, you might also take your Ethernet, plug that in, because having internet during the after the installation, post-installation is very helpful. And we're actually going to do something to make it easier on us. We're going to go to Options, Boot Args, and we are going to, and we're going to type at the end -V. And then just press Enter. You can exit out of this. But before you do, you might go to Graphics Injector and inject the one of your type. For example, mine's Intel HD Graphics 4400 or family. So I'm going to inject Intel. Go ahead, exit. Now you're going to boot macOS install from Install macOS Catalina. You'll see all this text. The reason we did this, which is with the -V option, it makes it easier if there's an error or something. You can find out what went wrong. Might take a minute, validates the DMG and all sorts of stuff. But eventually you will end up at the macOS screen, like the recovery one that we were previously on, except this time it'll be running from the USB. But in most cases, if you have any trouble reaching the installer, there are some arguments you can type. Type -X and type some boot arguments, more in the guide that I'll link in the description. And then that will most likely make it to where you can boot on older graphics cards. Now, this is the important part. We're going to do something a little different from a normal macOS install once this turns on, just because of the fact that you need to do it in order for the hard drive to work with it. Okay, it's about finished, I believe. Yes, because this is, you'd see that in the loading screen. Usually, if it was for, like, if you had a macOS. Like if you weren't doing -V. Now you might see a nagging screen about mouse and keyboard. To solve that, there's only one thing you can do. You have to go over here, unplug you guys, take mouse and keyboard with me, and then we're gonna have to plug them in right here. So I'm gonna just do that. We'll start with the mouse, because that's what's prompting. Plug the mouse in. Now you'll notice at this point your touchpad will not work, nor will your keyboard. Now you'll see the arrow, you have to use this external mouse to keyboard for a bit. Take the keyboard, plug that in. Wait for the little arrow, we'll click that too. Select your language. And you'll get to the macOS recovery screen. See, recognize this? I do. I've done this several times. But now, before you install macOS, you need to go to Disk Utility. And press Continue, of course. I don't have room for this. Okay. Then you're gonna go to your disk, your hard drive. It won't look like this. You'll only see one if you're just starting. We're going to erase the volume group, make it APFS. Just call it whatever you want. Let this do its thing. Usually doesn't take long. Okay, it's finished. Now you can close Disk Utility, go to Install macOS, and press Continue. Now you'll see this screen, like the one we saw in the installer when we had to close the window. Press Continue, accept the license agreement. Now, you're going to want to select your disk. This space should be the amount of space you have on your hard drive. Press Install. Now, this part tends to take a while, but anytime it reboots, always select the USB But in most cases, when you reboot, select macOS install, and it'll show from your hard drive on the Clover boot screen. So next time it reboots, and you get to that, go ahead and select that instead. And eventually you'll end up at the macOS installation. You'll end up to where you can set it up. So I'll meet up with you guys once you're there. Okay guys, I am back. We are on the setup screen. And there's one thing you're gonna notice. You're gonna notice that the mouse works now. And so should the keyboard. You no longer need the external keyboard and mouse in order to use it. The drivers for that have already been installed. So you're gonna go ahead and select your region. I'm US. It should set this for you, double check it. You can just click on, don't transfer anything. And it will prompt you to sign in with your Apple ID. I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Okay, it's all signed in. You can go ahead and accept the terms and conditions and whatnot. Press agree. Yeah, we can just go ahead and fill out the information. I'm just gonna turn this away so you guys can't see my password. I'm gonna go ahead and press next, continue now. Okay, we'll set everything up. By the way, I wouldn't remove the USB until you've got it set up. I'm just gonna wait. Might take just a minute, usually nothing longer. But if it weren't for Ethernet right here, which is why I connected it, you need Ethernet. Most of the time, you have to use the advanced one to get Wi-Fi. The advanced tutorial, you have to use that to get Wi-Fi during post-installation. Other than that, you have to use Ethernet. That's not a problem. I got like a 300-foot long Ethernet cable anyways. Just gonna wait. If this takes longer than a minute, then I'm just gonna probably going to just cut it out. Okay, I knew it wouldn't. So we've got Express setup. Yep, we can just continue. I will. It's your decision. Continue. Yep. Not right now. Now, there's one step that you usually can't do. You can do that. This step, it doesn't always pop up, but it's this one, File Vault Disk Encryption. Now, it's a good thing. It's a security thing. You have to type a password, or you usually have to type a password or use a TPM to get in when you're booting your computer up. But you don't do it for this because this is a Hackintosh, and the disk cannot be encrypted usually by macOS. If anyone out there wants to try that and return to me in the comments, you may. I'm going to choose auto, but that's another decision of yours. You'll see this screen. And by the way, this Mac will show up as a MacBook. This Hackintosh will show up as a MacBook Air in most cases, but that can be changed with a few tools. And wait for it. And in just a minute, we're gonna see the desktop. Dun, 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 dun. So it's still loading, but we're there. Now, I don't think there's graphics drivers or anything yet. We're about to do that, actually. This is our next step. After getting macOS working and stuff, you're gonna leave the USB plugged in because we are going to install some drivers. Drivers are basically things that, there's little programs that run a device. Each device has its own driver, and without a driver, a device usually cannot work. There's a few exceptions to that, but they're very rare occurrences, and usually it's still a device with a problem without a driver. But what you're going to want to do so is you're going to want to go to your USB. You're going to be running MultiBeast. Yep, you can usually click Quick Start and select UEFI or whatever one you did. That's just a calendar thing. You're going to go drivers. You're going to select what one you can do, like your audio. I do Voodoo HDA, optional 3-port native audio. I do Intel generic AHCI SATA. I don't think any of these are needed. For network, this is only Ethernet. Right now, we do have Ethernet, and it's working. But these are just to get an actual Ethernet driver that's not generic and actually works well. So I'm going to do this one. Of course, this is for other Ethernet configurations. Now, USB inject all, very helpful because it uses all the USB ports. Bootloaders, this should already be set. Customize, you can do different things with your graphics or patch certain things. And this is where you would change what kind of Mac yours is. For example, iMac 14.2 is our usual one. You can press build and you need to make sure this is set to your hard drive. In most cases it is. Don't set it to install macOS Catalina, that's the USB. You're gonna save it, just in case, so we have a backup. I'm gonna save it to downloads and I'm gonna call it backup. Then just press install. You can accept the license agreement, enter your password. I don't think you can see it. What? Did that not work? Okay, good. That will install. It usually doesn't take that long. So we're just gonna let it install. The bootloader is very important. We install that in the advanced version of this too, except it's manual. The advanced version will probably be coming out tomorrow, but with the advanced version, the thing is that you have to do the drivers yourself, write your own config file, all sorts of stuff, and so it's a little more advanced. I'll keep all the links in the description, and we'll make sure that everything is working. But I have tested on my own. You will get more errors, but the more, like, the fatal errors in terms of, like, the outcome, it's way better. You might also notice that this little partition here, this EFI, this is your EFI partition. It's automatically mounted by Clover. This will unmount, but in the future, you're going to want to mount it. We'll go over that in the next video. Because here in Kex, this is where your drivers will go. So then, once that is all done, you can just reboot, and your drivers will install. Okay, guys, that, my friends, has been how to Hackintosh the easy way. So everyone, thanks for watching this video, and I will see you guys tomorrow in this next video.